Let me tell you something that most men won't admit out loud. A man doesn't always recognize real love when it's in his hands. He recognizes it when it's gone, when she's there, loving him, supporting him, believing in him. It feels normal. But the day she walks away, that's the day everything becomes clear. Because losing a woman who truly loved you isn't just heartbreak. It's a lesson you never forget. Let me tell you something. A man doesn't always realize what he has while he has it. Sometimes he's too comfortable, too distracted, too sure she'll never leave. See, when a woman truly loves you, she gives you peace. She supports your dreams. She forgives your mistakes. She stands beside you when nobody else does. And many men mistake that loyalty for weakness. He thinks she'll always understand. He thinks she'll always wait. He thinks she won't get tired. But a good woman doesn't leave overnight. She leaves after she's given everything she had. Men often realize the value of a woman too late, and that truth is heavier than most are willing to admit. While she is there, loving him, supporting him, and choosing him every single day, he becomes comfortable. He gets used to her presence. He assumes her loyalty is permanent. Instead of seeing her love as something precious, he starts seeing it as something guaranteed. And the moment something feels guaranteed, appreciation slowly fades. At first, it's small things. He stops saying thank you. He stops noticing the effort. He stops noticing the effort. He stops recognizing how much emotional weight she carries just to keep the relationship steady. She checks on him, encourages him, defends him, believes in him, even when he doubts himself. But because she does it consistently, he starts thinking it's just normal. He doesn't realize that what feels normal is actually rare. Many men are taught to chase what challenges them, not what nurtures them. So when a woman loves deeply and sincerely, he may mistake her patience for weakness. He may test boundaries, delay commitment, or put his pride before her feelings. He tells himself she'll always be there. He believes she understands him better than anyone else, so surely she won't walk away. What he doesn't see is that every time he takes her for granted, a small piece of her hope starts to fade. A woman who truly loves doesn't leave after one argument or one disappointment. She stays. She communicates. She forgives. She tries again. But staying doesn't mean she isn't hurting. Loving doesn't mean she isn't slowly detaching when her efforts aren't matched. And while she's fighting to keep the relationship alive, he may still be operating from ego, comfort, or distraction. Then one day, something shifts. She stops arguing. She stops explaining. She stops trying to convince him to care. And that silence feels different. That's usually the moment he begins to sense something is wrong. But even then, many men don't move fast enough. They assume it's temporary. They think she'll bounce back like she always has, until she doesn't. And when she finally walks away, not in anger, but in peace, that's when realization hits. The calls stop. The encouragement disappears. The loyalty he relied on is no longer available. Suddenly, he sees clearly what he once overlooked. He remembers how she showed up for him when nobody else did. He notices how rare it was to have someone love him without games, without conditions. Regret is a quiet teacher. It doesn't shout, it settles in slowly. He starts comparing every new connection to the one he lost. And he understands something painful. Genuine love isn't easy to find. The woman who truly loved him wasn't ordinary. She was intentional. She was invested. She was real. By the time he fully understands her value, she has already learned hers. And that's why so often men realize the worth of a good woman only after she's no longer there to give them the chance to prove they deserved her. A good woman doesn't walk away because she stopped loving. She walks away because she finally understands that loving alone is not enough. Before she ever reaches that point, she gives everything she has. She gives patience when she feels hurt. She gives understanding when she feels confused. She gives loyalty when she feels insecure. She gives chances when most people would have already left. That's what makes her different. She doesn't quit easily. When she loves with intention. She invests emotionally. She supports his dreams even when he doubts himself. She stands beside him during his struggles and defends him when others question him. She becomes his peace in chaos. But while she is pouring into him, she is quietly hoping he will pour back into her. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, just genuinely. The truth is, a good woman doesn't wake up one day and suddenly decide to leave. Her leaving is a process. It begins the first time she feels unheard. It deepens when her tears are dismissed. It grows when her efforts are expected but not appreciated. She communicates. She explains. She tries to fix what's broken. She doesn't hide her pain. She expresses it, hoping he will understand. Every conversation she initiates is not nagging. It's her fighting for the relationship. But there comes a moment when she grows tired of repeating herself, not because she doesn't care anymore, but because she realizes she's the only one carrying the emotional weight. She notices that she's always the one adjusting, apologizing, and compromising. She starts to feel lonely in a relationship that was supposed to bring partnership, and loneliness beside someone hurts more than being alone. Even then, she stays longer than she should. She stays because she remembers the good times. She stays because she believes in his potential. She stays because her heart doesn't give up easily, but slowly something changes inside her. The tears stop, the arguments decrease, the emotional reactions fade. That's not indifference, that's exhaustion. When a good woman leaves, she leaves quietly. There is no drama left in her voice, no begging, no threats. She has already cried the tears he never noticed. She has already had the sleepless nights he never asked about. By the time she walks away, she has made peace with the decision. And that peace is what surprises him the most. He may think she left suddenly, but she didn't. She left after giving her loyalty, her energy, her forgiveness, and her love. She left after choosing him again and again, hoping he would finally choose her with the same intensity. Her departure is not impulsive. It is the result of emotional depletion. And here's the hard truth. When a good woman leaves after giving her all, she rarely comes back, not because she stopped loving, but because she finally learned to love herself enough to stop accepting less than she deserves. Her absence teaches what her presence couldn't, because when she was there, he was distracted by comfort. When someone shows up for you every day, checks on you, supports you, forgives you, and stands beside you, no matter what, it becomes easy to assume they always will. Her love felt steady, predictable, almost permanent. And unfortunately, permanence often kills urgency. He didn't feel the need to change, to grow, or to fully appreciate her because she was right there, constant and committed. While she was present, her value blended into the background of his life. The good morning texts, the late night conversation, NS, the small, thoughtful gestures, they became routine. He didn't realize that routine is a privilege. He didn't understand that the peace she brought into his life was something many people spend years searching for. But peace is quiet. Loyalty is subtle. Real love doesn't scream for attention. And because it doesn't scream, it's often overlooked. When she leaves, though, silence takes her place. And silence has a way of amplifying everything. The phone doesn't light up the same. The room feels different. The encouragement he once received without asking is suddenly gone. That's when he begins to notice the emotional safety she created. He realizes how much strength he borrowed from her belief in him. He starts to understand that her presence was covering gaps he never bothered to fix within himself. Her absence removes the cushion. There is no one softening his bad days, no one reminding him of his potential, no one balancing his ego with empathy. And in that space, clarity begins to grow. He replays conversations in his mind. He remembers the times she asked for more effort, more attention, more reassurance. At the time, he may have seen it as pressure. Now he sees it as her trying to protect what they had. Distance brings perspective. When she was close, he focused on her flaws, her complaints, her emotions. From afar, he sees her loyalty, her patience, her consistency. The things he once minimized become the very things he misses the most. He starts comparing every new interaction to what he lost, and that comparison is humbling. Her absence also forces him to confront himself. Without her distractions, he has to sit with his choices. He has to acknowledge where he lacked effort, where pride got in the way, where he assumed she would tolerate more than she should have. Growth often begins in discomfort, and losing her creates a discomfort he cannot ignore. Sometimes her absence becomes his greatest lesson. Not because she wanted to teach him one, but because losing something real exposes its true worth. Love that is always available can feel ordinary. Love that is gone feels extraordinary. By the time he fully understands what she meant to him, she has already stepped into a life where she is no longer waiting to be valued. And that is the final lesson her absence teaches. Appreciation delayed often becomes appreciation denied. Real love is rare and hard to replace, and most people don't understand that until they lose it. In a world full of temporary connections, mixed signals, and surface-level attraction, genuine love stands apart. It's not loud, it's not performative, it doesn't rely on games or constant validation. Real love is steady, it's intentional, it chooses the same person every day, even when emotions fluctuate. And because it feels calm and secure, many mistake it for something ordinary. The truth is, real love is built on loyalty, respect, and consistency. It's the kind of love that checks on you when you're quiet. It's the kind that celebrates your wins without jealousy and supports you during your losses without judgment. It doesn't disappear when things get difficult. Instead, it leans in closer. That kind of love requires emotional maturity, patience, and selflessness, qualities that are not common. When someone experiences real love, they experience emotional safety. They can be vulnerable without fear of being mocked. They can admit mistakes without fear of abandonment. They can grow without feeling threatened. But emotional safety is a gift many people don't fully value while they have it. They focus on excitement, on flaws, on what's missing instead of recognizing the depth of what's already there. Replacing real love isn't easy because what made it special wasn't just chemistry or attract. Ion, it was the history, the shared struggles, the private jokes, the understanding built over time. It was someone learning your fears and choosing not to use them against you. It was someone seeing your weaknesses and still deciding to stay. Those layers cannot be recreated overnight with someone new. Often after losing real love, a person enters new relationships thinking they can simply start fresh. But fresh doesn't mean deeper. New doesn't mean better. They begin to notice the difference between attention and intention, between someone who is interested and someone who is invested. They realize that not everyone is willing to fight for the relationship when things get uncomfortable. Not everyone is capable of loving without keeping score. Real love also challenges you. It requires accountability. It asks you to grow. And sometimes people walk away from it because growth feels uncomfortable. But once they step back into the dating world and experience inconsistency, emotional unavailability, or superficial bonds, they start to understand what they gave up. They see that real love wasn't boring, it was stable. It wasn't predictable, it was dependable. By the time that realization fully settles in, the person who offered that rare love may have moved on, because people who love deeply also learn deeply. Once they recognize their worth, they don't easily return to places where they were undervalued. That's why real love is rare and hard to replace. It's not just about finding someone attractive or compatible. It's about finding someone who genuinely cares for your heart as if it were their own. And when that kind of love is lost, it leaves a space that casual connections can never truly fill. In the end, the lesson is simple but powerful. A man often realizes too late what he truly had. A good woman doesn't leave because she stopped loving. She leaves because she gave everything and received too little in return. While she was present, her loyalty felt ordinary. When she becomes absent, her value becomes undeniable. And that's when the truth settles in. Real love is rare, steady, and not easily replaced. Her silence teaches, her absence reveals, her departure matures. Losing a woman who truly loved him is not just heartbreak, it's a wake-up call. It forces him to confront his pride, his comfort, and the effort he failed to give. But growth that comes after loss is often the most painful kind, because sometimes the lesson costs the very person who was meant to stay, and by the time he understands her worth, she has already learned hers.